channel. Today I'm sharing a card using a new stamp set that is coming out in August for Crafting Divas, and it's called Favourite Nut. So first of all, I'm starting off with a piece of Strathmore Bristol smooth cardstock, and I'm using one of the new inside scalloped oval dies to cut a oval out of an A2 size piece of card, Bristol card, and I'm going to help use this die shape to create my scene. So now I'm taking some Victorian Velvet Distress ink and just lightly going around the outside of that negative piece of card and being really light-handed and being very careful not to buckle the sides because the card is very thin in that area where I cut out the oval. So I'm just lightly going around the edges, just carefully covering all of that card with ink, and now I'm going in with my aged mahogany just to darken up those edges a little. I think these are my new favourite colour combinations at the moment. I absolutely adore these two together. And then once I've done that, I go in with my Perfect Pearls in copper. I just put a little bit of the powder onto my craft mat, and then I add a little bit of water and just tap that all over my background. The ink splatters are quite fine, so you might not see it too well on the camera. Didn't pick it up too well, but in the light it's really shimmery, and I think the colours really complement each other very well. So I'll probably be doing this on quite a few of my cards in the future. And now I'm taking the inside piece of that scallop die, and I'm using one of the new stencils in the August release, which is the Hill Scene 2 stencil, and it has two sides of cloudy borders, and it's a lovely stencil. I used both of the stencils that are being released in August in this card. So again, I've just taken that Victorian velvet to create my clouds, and I use a bit of post-it tape just to cover up those circles in the centre. I shall show you how I use those in a little bit later on in the video. So they're really light, fluffy clouds, being really light-handed with the ink. I'm tapping a lot of it off of the excess off the sponge onto a scrap piece of card, which you can just about see on the right hand side. So there we are, all my pieces are finished for the background. And then what I like to do is stamp out my images onto some copy paper and cut them out, and then use that to help me work out where I'm going to place my images and what my scene's going to look like. So now I'm taking the Hill Scene 1 stencil, and I'm using that to create myself a hill or path for my squirrels. I'm just marking out where that oval shape is going to sit. And just drawing in freehand a hill, and I cut that out with some scissors. And then I start using that stencil to create a path using some vintage photo distress ink. But first of all, I just sort of secure that down with some post-it tape so that things don't sort of move around too much. So first of all, I actually start off with antique linen as the base for my path. Just being really light-handed. This isn't any speciality cardstock. I think this is just normal heavyweight cardstock, so it doesn't always blend as nice. But if you're really light-handed, and I find tapping off my blending tool before I apply my ink to where I want on the card it helps everything blend a bit better. And now I'm taking the Hill Scene 2 stencil and laid that over the top of my already inked path, and I'm inking on some cobbles using vintage photo. So these stencils coordinate together, which is a really fun idea. And then I take my stencil to create myself a mask, because I want to mask off that path and ink up my grass. So I'm using peeled paint, distress ink, to get myself some grass on the sides. My post-it tape isn't very sticky, so I have to hold it down really well. And then just move on to the other side. And then I place my hill scene underneath the scallop just to help me place my Acorn House and where to cut that scallop out of my inked up grounding for the squirrels. So I line that up and then I run that through my Big Shot machine or my, any particular die cutting machine you've got, and there I have my hill. So I work out where that's going to sit, and then once I'm happy with that, I glue it down to my background. So I just take some Nouveau liquid adhesive for this. And then I use that scallop frame to help me line up my grounding, my hill scene. And then I take my outside piece onto a piece of A2 sized card or a card base, and just use my ATG to put some adhesive on the back there. And then I place my scallop frame inside and then glue my background seam panel onto the card base, again just using some liquid adhesive. And then once that's done, I do glue down my scalloped frame off camera, but then I do decide to cut another one and place that over the top of the one that's originally there, just to give a little bit of extra dimension to my card. And today I haven't coloured my images on camera. It's just been really difficult with my children being off school. I haven't really had the time, and it's been so hot in the UK, and my craft room is it's like my loft room, and it's just been unbearably hot, especially with the lights for filming. So hopefully next month I'll be able to do a bit more colouring on camera. But I'll list all of the markers I use and the colours I use down below. These were coloured with Copic markers, so I can list that all below and also on my blog. So finally, just to finish off, I need a sentiment, and I'm using From Your Favourite Nut sentiment in the set. I'm using a piece of Kraft Cardstock and using my embossing buddy and some Versamark ink. And then I take a really shimmery, peachy embossing powder. I did play around with quite a few different embossing powders, but this one I thought looked the nicest. So I heat set that with my heat gun. And then I did cut that down into a square or rectangle and rounded the corners and put some vintage photo distress ink around the edges. Added some 1/8 of an inch score tape to the back and then secured that to my card. And there we go, my card is finished. So I really hope you enjoyed that process video. I really look forward to sharing more videos with you very soon. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.